Another lot party quick tip, but it's not so much a quick tip as much as me documenting the process that I'm about to go over with you. One of the things I'm going to be doing is I'm going to keep an eye over here for Facebook. I'm going to, because this is going live, I want to see anybody's feedback on this. I'm also going to show you what steps I'm going to take on this process. And so bear with me right now. Again, I'm going to be pulling some stuff up. Got a couple people jumping on already. So I'm taking over pricing cars for a dealership. And I want to show what I'm going to do, how I'm going to attack this inventory. Now, I already had a meeting with the dealer yesterday. We're going to meet each week on the plan of attack. I warned them that they will have a gross problem for a little bit, and of the pushback they may get, but they're all in because they had somebody internally doing it. The amount of cars that we're talking about, and I'm going to kind of go, we're looking at 318 cars. That it's quite a bit. So we're going to take that off their plate. Now keep in mind, this is a dealership that I've known for probably 15, 17 years, and they're just becoming a client, but we've stayed in touch. They know and trust what we do, and they said, hey, we want to sign up for your service, but here's the catch: we want you guys to do our price changes. So I decided, instead of turning over one of our team members, I want to do this. I see this as a huge benefit of me being able to get my feet on the ground, just kind of a better understanding. And I'm only going to probably do it for a month or two and then transition over to somebody, because it's going to take a lot of my time up. But I wanted to see, again, put my money where my mouth is, get a better understanding what's happening in the market. Not that I don't already, but I do one call right now with dealerships where my other guys are doing 25 plus with their dealers. Two, I wanted to really test our strategies. I have full control of how we're going to approach things. I won't touch a car until at the dealerships till it's past 7 days old. So they get to kind of set the stage on how they want their car to come out the gate with. So if they're going to have a little bit higher price, 105, 110, I know that that's a car they're going to want to hold out of. And if they're in the 90s out the gate, then I know it's a car they want to get aggressively moving. So I understand that. And also, I kind of understand my limitations on how much of it, if I already, again, I'm just taking over this inventory. If I pull up a car and they're already losing $1,500, how much more are they willing to lose? That's conversations we've discussed, and there's going to be limitations on it too. But I want to go over kind of, again, my game plan. You don't see the dealer's information. I'm not sharing who this is or anything like that. But it is a franchise store, I can tell you that. I'm going to show you some of the metrics that we have in our tool, and how and why we're going to attack an inventory a certain way. So I'm going to share my screen over here. And again, this isn't a product sell as much as I'm just showing you how and why we're attacking the inventory the way we're going to attack it. So one of our first goals is to have dealers carry what they sell what they carry. And so one of the first things we look at on an action plan is we're looking at what have they sold in the last 2 weeks. So if you're carrying 100 cars, I want you to sell 100 cars in a month. So in 2 weeks, I'd like you to be selling half of it. So that's the goal, is 50%. They're currently only at 38%. Yesterday was at 39%. We've only pulled data for 2 days now. So ultimately, my goal is to increase this percentage up to 50%. I'm sorry. So they're on pace right now to sell 240 with 318 in stock. My goal is to get them up to that 320, 318, 320. So we're going to push volume, but I'm going to do it with gross, and I'll show you how we're going to do that. A couple things that I want to point out is what they're doing by age buckets. So our goal and how we're going to get gross profit at the dealership also, along with that volume, is to increase how many cars you're selling in the first 30 days. By the way, I'm going to go to the mailbox today to send out first 30 wristbands. If you want some, go to our website. There's a first 30 hashtag first 30 link. Just give me your dealer's information. I'll send you as many wristbands out as possible. You just tell me how many. But Percentage of sold. So what has they sold in the last 2 weeks? 61% of their sales are going out in the first 30 days. 30% is going out 31 to 60, and 9% are going out 60 plus. They currently have 69% of their inventory fresh. Our goal is to have over 65% of their inventory at fresh at 0 to 30 days old. Because again, I can't sell 60 to 70% in the first 30 days if it's not there. So they're damn close. They're already pretty clean. There's 23% in the middle bucket, and there's 8% age. So first thing is we got a little bit of age problem. I'm not afraid of 2, 3, 4% sitting around, but at 8%, it was just 11% yesterday. I want to get rid of about 5% there. In order to do that, I'm going to get this middle bucket below 20%. So I'm going to attack those, and I'll explain a little bit more there. But if I get that below 20%, and I continue to sell more than what's sitting there, he's at 23%, selling 30%. We're going to be able to stop the bleed through, stop the aging problem, and drive that 8% down. So again, the reason why a lot of dealerships, if you notice, those cars, that 8%, we're losing on average 1,900, or they are right now at this point in time. If I can eliminate that and minimize that, right? If I can, they have 9% of their sales, almost 10% going out on cars losing $2,000. If I can minimize that and increase the amount of cars going out with, $3,000, $1,500 and margin, then I'm going to be able to increase their growth. So the goal is obviously to drive what we're selling 61 plus below 5%. So I need to get rid of 5% here. And I've kind of left it up to the dealership yesterday. And I said, hey, these cars are already on your block. Maybe you start working out of those. I'll do it, but it's their blood to bath to soak up. Now this 30%, again, right now we're selling too high right out of there. But so I eventually I want to drop 5% of my sales out of that and then move all that up here. So if I can get his 61% fresh sale rate up to 60, just the 65, 68, 70%, and I'm going to be able to drive that up by, again, eliminating, 3 to 5% of these buckets up top. So my goal right now is to get more sales out of the 31 to 60, get a little bit more sales out of the age. That means when I sell those, add more to the 69% up here, get about 75% fresh, about 20, 25% in the middle, and less than 3% here, in those ranges. And then crank up the 61% to 65, 68, 70% maybe. That'll leave about 20 to 25% coming out here, and hopefully 1 or 2% there. Now, that's the goal. And I told the dealer it might take 2 to 4 weeks to do that. Why? Because in order to stop a bleed through, you need to be selling at least 5% more out of a bucket than what's sitting there. So 12% of his inventory is 31 to 45, and he's only selling 15%. That's why it's a 3% difference, and it's in the red because it's not the 5%. Also, a couple ways I'm going to do. So I'm going to focus on 31 to 45, but also I can see their price points. See, they're at 102 and then 104 and then pretty much 99. That's where I'm going to move. If he's 102 out the gate, I'm fine there. But this 16 to 30 probably needs to be about 99 to 100%. And the 31 to 45 probably needs to be closer to 95, 96%. So the reason why it's going to take 2 to 4 weeks just for me to transition these cars over is if you go look at these cars in the 31 to 45 day bucket. I mean, look at some of these. An Equinox at 112% still at 31 days old, or a Chevy Impala. It's 35 days old at 100%. I mean, a Chevy Impala at 35 days old should definitely be priced more around 95% than 100. So I either drop this down to about 97, maybe move this to a 13.5 number. So one, I'm going to go in and flat price everything, meaning if we're going to be at 35.9, I'd rather be at 36. If you're at 13.9, I'd rather be at 14. So I'm going to move this car, if I move it to 13.5, it's probably only going to put it at 97%. Okay, that's fine. It's better than where it's at. But the problem is we should have been at 97% at day 14 on this particular car, not day 35. So really, this car should probably be at 13 grand, which is going to put it position at probably more closer to 90 to 92%, which is where I need to be at 35 days on a Chevy Impala with 80,000 miles on it. So I might have to drop this car a grand just to position it where it needs to be now, and maybe get off of it in the next 2 weeks and be only 2 weeks behind. Or if I go to 13.5, and then to 13 a week or so from now, I'm 3 or 4 weeks behind, if you guys understand what I'm saying here. So, you know, a Toyota Corolla at 102% at this lot is not good. He should have been at 15 grand, but at day probably 14, probably day 20 at tops. So now he's at 36. So he's at least 2 weeks behind on this car. That 15 grand shouldn't have been, it should have been there no later than 21 days. Then by day 21, I would have been at 14.5, which have been probably more of a 96%, 97%. And then by day 30, I would have been at, 14 grand, which is probably closer to 95, 96. So I'm either going to have to whack these cars close to a grand right now just to get them to be positioned where they're supposed to be, to get that middle bucket back to a price point of about, remember I said at 31 to 45. I'm probably should be 16 to 30 should be at 98. This 98 should be up here, and then this 98 should probably be closer to 95 or 96. And those are the cars that are causing that. And so whoever's pricing those cars there are too late in the game. And so what I find is a lot of people the managers that try to manage gross I should say is managers that try to control gross, meaning he's trying to, the reason why he's still at 100+% on a Corolla at 40 days old almost is he's trying to, control his gross, because that car probably has minimal markup in it and he doesn't want to lose money or make minimum money. So he's trying to control it by managing it. And when dealers try to control gross by managing gross, it ends up costing them gross. So I'm going to have to go in here and clean that up just so I can position these buckets up here where I need them to be in the next 2 to 4 weeks. Now, again, this is where dealers, all of a sudden, you do this, his volume is going to kick up. That it's going to take him from 38% 2-week sale rate to 50%. I'll document this for you guys. You'll see it. I'll probably do it next week, see where we're at. So it's going to kick up his volume. So my first question to him is, can you continue to feed the beast? And if you can continue to feed the beast as I build your volume up, because I'm going to start getting these cars getting attention, as we get the volume up, feed the beast, but also make sure turnaround time's good. Because then I'm going to sell these cars, add them to the fresh bucket, but then I'm going to want to increase that fresh bucket sale rate so I can get your grosses back up. So that's how we're going to pivot with this. That's how we're going to attack this. I'm going to have to spend today changing and flat pricing 300 cars. Some of them I might have to drop a grand like you've seen, which is the dealer's fine with. He's like, I'm fine with it. So, and I told him, understand it's going to cost them gross, but don't just keep the blinders on. You're going to get pushback from your team. Get them to understand what we're doing. He said, fine. I only got, out of 15 people on my team, only one's got a problem with this. Let's go. So this is where dealers start doing what, quote unquote, this velocity mindset. They said, oh, I've tried to, I've tried to make up my gross with volume, and I dropped prices and all of a sudden my gross went to crap. Yeah, I sold more cars. So that's what's going to happen right now. Over the next 2 to 4 weeks, his gross is going to go down, his volume's going to kick up, and then most dealers go, man, it's hard to keep feeding the beast. It's just a lot of work, and my grosses aren't as good as it used to be. I'm going to go back to and selling cars the way I used to do it. And that's where dealers deviate off this strategy over the next 30 to 40 days, 45 days. So if I get the dealership to understand, give me free reign for 30 to 45 days, let me set this thing up. I think it's 30 days if they give me free reign. Let's set this thing up. By day 45, they're going to see the gross and the volume. And if they can just keep up that pattern, we're going to be selling 300 and but if he keeps 320 in stock, we'll be doing 320 to 350, and grosses are going to be probably better. I would say probably 10% better. But we're just going to have to make some big hits right now in order to get that done. And that's how I'm going to attack this inventory. So, Ted, with all the flux in the market and time of the year, is the best move to slash? Yes and no. Ted is asking, with all the flux in the market and the time of year, is it the best? Okay, so he's asking, should I be dropping a grand price on these Impellas when they could be great tax season, stimulus checks? I agree. The bad thing is, this dealer, we should have done this in December or January, coming into February, March, right? We should have done this December and January, so we don't have to clean up this mess in this high peak season. I agree with you. The other call I did this morning, we've increased their pricing 2% over the last 30 days, and their sales volumes increased. They're shorter on cars, but that is making a sense of urgency at the dealership. So they're on pace. Remember, I said at the beginning, I want to sell 50% in 2 weeks. They're selling, I think it was 80% in 2 weeks. Okay, they're on pace to sell probably close to 150 cars with only 87 in stock. And we raised the price 2%. Now, right, and he's clean 70+% in the first 30. He's only selling 50% in the first 30 right now, which in 30% or more in the middle bucket. And I'm fine. We're fine with that bleed through, Ted, because he is clean enough. This other dealer, he was clean enough and disciplined enough. I've been doing calls with them for 5 years. They're clean enough and disciplined enough that we can raise the price, see if it starts slowing things down. Volume's there. And so we're playing around and having fun because he came into this selling season clean. And I told him, if his volume starts dropping off, if he was only selling 38% in a 2-week sale rate, I'm going to, instead of having this price go from 96 to 98, we're going to dial it back down and get that volume back up and clean things up before we're stuck in an aging problem. So Ted Foster, I agree with you. Dealers hold out right now. If you can be clean, if you're clean going into this, you get to have some fun. See if you can hold out on pricing. And again, the way we're trending things out, we can watch and know within a few days if we're bleeding through and it becoming a problem, and then we adjust and we move the pricing. But this particular dealer, he wants to be clean. So let's use this selling season right now to clean him up. And he's already pretty darn clean. He's a good operator, as you can see here. But it's just a 3 to 5%, and why sit on our hands in hopes that, March and April should be good months for us, but let's just take advantage of that, get the volume going and get some of these cars moving if he thinks he has no problem feeding the beast. So anyways, I'm telling you where I'm at right now. I am responsible for this inventory other than the 0 to 7 day old cars. I'm making all these decisions. They're fine with it. So essentially, I'm their used car manager at 300 cars. I'm going to be able to test out our system and see any flaws or kinks or things that I don't like and be able to improve that. That's a benefit for me. I'm going to be in touch with the market, making price changes and understanding. And again, obviously meeting each week, he's going to give me feedback on where they want to head and what we need to hold out on. So it's going to be a fun trip, but I'll keep documenting some of this, and that way you guys could see how we're handling or attacking the dealer's inventory. Hope this is helpful. If you check out our website, if you want a free inventory evaluation, this is the first time I'm doing price changes. We've offered it. Dealers asked us. We've done price changes for dealers that we do weekly calls with, and the guy's like, "Hey, I'm on vacation. Go ahead and do the price changes for me." But none yet to where we're full-fledged responsible for the inventory. And again, I got to put my money where my mouth is, or vice versa. So this is the first time that we're doing this. But if you want to see the other services we offer, Lotpop.com. If you want some free first 30 wristbands, I am literally going to the post office today to get things shipped out if I can get all the price changes done on time. But hopefully March is strong for everybody. You had a great February. Talk to you later.